Hello and welcome to Connect to Love here on PRNFM, the space where we explore the deepest connections of the human spirit through love, oneness, and of course the unseen magic of connection. I'm Lisa LeRose and I am joined by the incredible Michael J. Russ. I want to say welcome, Michael.
Hello. Glad to be here. Very, very happy to be here today.
Yes, today we are so honored because we have a very, very special guest. His name is Dylan Bode, and we are going to dive in to the most miraculous story that I think will remind each one of us of the profound connection between our passions and the very essence of life itself. So I want to say welcome to you, Dylan. It is such a joy. You are just such a bright light, and it's an honor to have you join us.
Oh, thank you. It's an honor to be here with both of you in this really meaningful podcast that is super needed right now, especially with everything that's going on in the world. I think we all need this. So thanks for the work you do.
Oh, thank you.
Appreciate that.
No, it is. And we're going to dive into a few things, and I would love for you if you would just for a minute, because for our audience members who don't know you, just take us back to the moment of what it was that awakened your journey into recognizing what your passions were and how things shifted for you in your world.
Yeah, I always think, I go back to this, and obviously been asked this a lot recently, and as I was meditating about it a little bit this week and walking about it, I think if it's okay to go back a little bit further. It starts a lot when I was a kid, because my passion for music, which is for all of us, anyone who's listening to this in the world, my passion that I'm diving into in life right now is music, which the connection, I think, of music and I started when I was 6 months old. There's a story that my parents tell about me humming a tune before I could talk. I was leaving my brother's baseball game, and he played Little League Baseball like so many people in America, and they were they were all singing the tune at their baseball bench, cheering the team on to "We Will Rock You" by Queen, right? And all the kids on the bench were chanting it, "We will rock you," right? And they're all chanting it, right, over and over again in the 90s, as baseball teams did, and probably still do. I haven't been to a Little League game in a while, but I'm sure it still happens somewhere.
They do the big games.
Yeah, they do that big game still too. And so so we're leaving the game, and my mom tells a story that I was in the back in the car seat humming this, and she pulls the van over, and they turn around and they're like, "It's Dylan." They looked at me like I was possessed, because I think not a lot of kids hummed a tune right on pitch at 6 months old. And I think at that time, I knew they thought, well, Dylan has this probably a profound connection to music, and and my dad did. He says love music, and so anyway, from an early age in life, there is something there. I think that is probably profound, that has just always been there, and I think all humans have some connection to music, whether we want to admit it or not. But it's I think a healing life force for everybody. But anyway, that's where it began, and so from then on, I played violin at a young age and took lessons in piano, but I could just tell you as a kid, there was nothing more exciting for me or important in my life than listening to music, dancing to music, putting on shows for my parents. I always had a plethora of instruments, plucking out melodies on like a little synthesizer keyboard. It was just always something that brightened up my life, and it's always been there and it's exciting. So that's where the passion began. Now, why did I switch into doing it full time? There was kind of a wake-up call. Over the last 10 years, after I graduated, I think life happened. My first job out of high school was actually a touring children's theater performer. I did a lot of musical theater on the community theater level. I did some choir singing, some professional singing as a solo work, and some just community choral groups. And so I've always been doing it, but again, we talk about how scary it was to always do this professionally. And I think somehow there was a voice in my head that said, you can't afford to do this. You need to pay the bills. You need to have this life. It's not practical. So I got into business. I went into real estate, and then I also the mortgage side of the industry, into finance. And I said, this is a practical thing to do. You need to pay the bills. I had to, early on, someone said you'd have the great personality to do sales and to do business. And I thought, well, that's great. That'd be a great way to make money and build a successful career, right? That sounds like a practical thing to do. And, time just went by. I was good at it. And I thought, well, I'm good at this. This is comfortable. And that word comfort really, and talent, you're talented at the sales thing, your comfort, this is a comfortable arena for you to be in, really damaged me, I think, early on in life because I never wanted to break out of that. And it was, so I got stuck there for a long time. And then it became unhealthy for me. I think I broke into some bad habits and just got really just stuck in this lifestyle, and the patterns repeated themselves over and over and over again. And I think the worst thing for us is to get stuck in a pattern as humans and stuck behind a desk and never break free from those things. And it took a really unhealthy, really scary attack on my life to break free from that. So just over a year ago, I went to a Coma. So someone roofied a drink of mine at a bar is what we found out. So anyway, I was sitting at a bar and I went into cardiac arrest from someone essentially poisoning me. I mean, that's what happens when someone roofies your drink. It's, basically being poisoned, right? And in some ways it's really scary and horrible, and in some ways I think everything happens for a reason in life. But yeah, that happened, and I was in the hospital for a while. I technically died for 10 minutes. My heart stopped. And I was in a coma for a while. They didn't know if I was going to make it. And then music is what saved my life in the long, and I think that's how Lisa and I connected, is through that whole story.
Yeah. You know what, Dylan, it's so interesting because I've always been impacted by Wayne Dyer, and he always said, don't die with your music still in you. And when I saw your story, it was so impactful to me, even in my life. And I thought to myself, it's such a good reminder. And I just want to ask you, since and before we get into the other aspect of it, as you were kind of, as you speak about this comfort zone, and so many of us get into that. We don't like change. We just like things to be the same, status quo. Mm-hmm. So were there any sort of, before this incident, any clues that you started listening to before this occurred where you saw music needed to be a bigger part of your life?
Yeah, there definitely was. It's interesting. I'm a big fan of therapy. If you're feeling unhappy in life, or you need someone to talk to, or you're feeling lonely. And so I've been seeing a therapist for a while before this incident happened. And, I would catch myself daydreaming at work. Throughout life, I've always found melodies. We were talking before this call. I'll write songs listening to jingles and hold music, or in an elevator, or hearing an ice cream truck. I'll write lyrics to anything happening by. Or I'll just pick out melodies out of the blue. I just daydream a lot of the time during my work about music, and writing these stories out of thin air about the melodies that I hear, right? Like, oh, that would be a great song about someone feeling alone and going on a picnic, or, oh, that could be a couple walking through a pier, or going through a market, right? Like, it's just, I don't know, that just is how my brain always has worked. Mm-hmm. And I would date, but that's really hard if you're sitting at a desk all day. You don't have the time to exercise that muscle in your body. And so the longer you suppress that, there's a tension that I think builds up inside of you. Mm-hmm. And there were signs that this is maybe not going to work. And so I talked to my therapist a lot about that. And I think there was unhealthy habits that I had formed, if I could be vulnerable enough to share that on the podcast.
Sure.
I had noticed, I'm flawed, a human being. I think part of the human condition. I noticed, like, I had gone to certain vices like alcohol at one point in my early 20s. Your 20s, you're in sales, and I think that maybe happens to a lot of people, or maybe not, but I noticed like, hey, I'm feeling upset and you need to turn to something, and how am I going to turn that voice off that wants to pursue art, and so I can stay in this kind of lower vibrational mode of the world.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. So you were actually in a situation where you were you understood that what you were doing wasn't really what you should be doing, sort of intuitively, and you and because it's like my feeling is that most people turn to those things because they're not really engaging in what it is that they know they want to be doing. They want to change their state of being. So drugs and alcohol and other things of that nature are a way to escape those feelings. And thank you for sharing them, obviously, because it's a big part of not only healing, but being able to move forward and discover who you are as an individual, and why you're here. So, I thank you very much for that.
I just want to say, because, Dylan, it's so important, because I think there's so many people out there that struggle to know their purpose, and just to know that they're not, and a lot of people feel alone, and they're afraid.
So many people feel alone. Yeah.
So please continue. Thank you again.
I think it's a really hard time on this planet, especially, right now for anybody. I think politics aside, it's just, we were isolated. We went through a global pandemic too, right? And there was feelings of loneliness during that time, and then just a divisive political climate. No matter who you feel, families are feeling really divided, and it's really hard to kind of bridge conversations, kind of bridge a gap of feeling like we're so different, when I think still I'd like to believe that humans have more in common than we like to think. And even like you had said, a lot of us are feeling alone. That's a good starter right there, right? And I think that if we could talk about those things more, it'd be good. So I was putting these things down, and I'd already started talking with someone about, I know I'm in the wrong position. I'd like to do music, but that's not realistic. But anyway, this thing happened, this horrible event where I was just out in the funny, or maybe not funny, but it wasn't even a crazy night. I was just out, had dinner with my husband, and we had one quick beer watching the basketball game, and that ended up putting me into a coma. And obviously they didn't think I was going to make it, which was pretty scary. My family flew in from Maui, and I was there, and waking up from that, you'd think right there it would change my life right away. However, when I woke up from that, they're like, you got to come back to work. Of course, I'm thinking, how are we going to pay all these hospital bills? And what are you going to do? Now, where music ties into that experience is pretty, I think, miraculous, is that, and it kind of ties into Coldplay, which is also, I think, how Lisa and I got connected. It was amazing, but music really woke me up from that coma in some ways. I mean, the doctors and nurses did their thing as well, so you don't want to rule them out. But when I was in that coma, they told my husband, and well, he can still hear you, and is there anything we can do to make him more comfortable? And he's like, well, Dylan loves music. If there's anything we can do to wake him up or make his brain work, because at that point they're like, he might not wake up, or if he does, he's going to be pretty brain damaged. And he's like, well, let's put music on. If anything, that'll wake him up. So they put Coldplay on 24/7. And since I was 8 years old, just I guess a little backtrack on the history of that, my mom's friend gave me a Coldplay album. And so as much as I love all genres of music, from opera to jazz to gospel to everything, Coldplay was always my consistent. I could tell you, whenever every other kid was waiting in line for Harry Potter and everything else, it was the next Coldplay album for me. I cried when I first heard that Parachutes album, and I was 8, and the song Trouble really got me, and I can remember playing it on the piano and just I don't know. That's when I actually knew I would love to be a musician, was from that first album. And yeah, it was just, they just played it nonstop. And Chris Martin, it's kind of interesting. Like, it's just very deep because, like, I could tell you the whole chapters of my life, you could kind of always bookmark, I met my husband, it was ghost stories. Graduated from high school, it was Milo Xyloto, it was all of these kind of, it's just how I chaptered my life. So there was their music, and then by the second day of the coma, I wasn't awake for all this, so my husband could probably always timeline it a little bit better than I can. But anyway, the second or maybe third morning, I was playing air piano to the beat of the Coldplay music while I was in the coma, and the neurologists all rushed into the hospital room, and they're like, "What is happening? We've never seen this before." And then I was playing air guitar, maybe 30 minutes later to a different song.
That's amazing.
And it was just
blew
crazy.
His mind, did we?
Yeah, everyone the whole staff was just like, kept coming in to watch it happen, and I was bobbing my head, still fully out of it, but somehow, subconsciously responding to this music that has been a part of my life on repeat forever. And I think that just speaks to the power of music and the connection we have as humans to it. Right? And at least for me, I'll talk about myself, that was my connection to it. And the calling that somewhere inside me is like, this is where we need to be, man. Like, this is definitely a big thing. So anyway, I woke up from the coma, did all the physical therapy, occupational therapy. It was a tough recovery process. I did go back to the work for a while, just kind of to process everything, and it was a kind of a big wake-up call. But at that chance, I had a second chance at life. At that time, I had a second chance at life. Realizing that this is pretty profound and special, but still kind of struggling with the fact I don't know if you've talked to many people that have had this. I'm sure you both have over the course of podcasting in your lives. But it's a big thing to wake up from something like that. I struggled with things of, do I deserve a second chance at life? I don't want to waste this. Why me? Am I worthy of this opportunity? There's so many people that don't have that. I'd lost a really close friend the year prior, and why didn't he have this? There was a lot that came with it.
Survivor's guilt.
Through. Yeah, survivor's guilt. Thank you. That's a great term for it that I didn't have words for. So that's it. So I had that to work through, and then we found out Coldplay's tour was ending in New Zealand, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to be ready physically and everything, because my ribs were all broken. It was a tough recovery. I had bad pneumonia from it all.
Really?
Yeah, I had some stuff. Yeah, they had all these fluid in my lungs. There was tons of stuff happening. I had a really massive heart attack from it all. So it was going to be a while to even get on a plane and get to New Zealand to go to the concert and stand up and dance for, however long it is to do a major concert like Coldplay. And we're like, okay, by November, we're going to be ready to do this, and we're going to go see Coldplay. And it was actually right after my birthday. So the trip was like a birthday trip. It was the Coldplay concerts, I think, were just, 5-6 days after my birthday. So anyway, we made it to New Zealand, and we, Aaron made this sign that said, "Your music woke me up." I think you've seen it, I'm sure, on the internet now. Yeah, and it said, "Your music woke me up from a coma. Can we sing together?" And
a special
we did
song,
not think
though, too.
It was a special song,
special
Magic.
song.
Yeah, it's definitely a special song for me. And we did not plan on that ever being a possibility of happening in a million years. I mean, there's a lot of people out there, and to have that moment happen was very special. But I wanted to go back and just tell you that backstory, because I think, a lot of people, and I've not talked about this anywhere, like, people don't understand, like, how I've grown up with Chris Martin. Like, he really was someone that I felt like was a best friend for me growing up in my life. I mean,
Sure.
he was my musical impact more than any human being. Like, I've probably heard him, I don't know, it's like millions and millions and millions and millions of times, and so it was just crazy. And then he really did, like I said, along with the doctors and the nurses, wake me up from that. Yeah, I played a role in waking me up from that coma. So it was, once that happened, it was shocking. People are like, so you sang with Coldplay, though, and then that was it. You're going to pursue music. And I don't want to say that was how it went down, though. Not to disappoint people, because it wasn't necessarily singing with Coldplay that made me want to pursue music. I'd already been feeling like I wanted to do it, right? And the reason I really went to that concert was because I wanted to thank. We went up there. It was an opportunity to thank and just say thank you. Yeah, it's really just say thank you to Chris for all of his inspiration in my life. And you woke me up from a freaking coma.
Yeah,
I mean,
not just the coma.
You know what I mean?
You're talking about all the benchmarks in your life. It's amazing.
Yeah, but a lot of people think, oh, you're pursuing music because you saw Coldplay and you sang with Chris, and that's not exactly how that happened.
I can imagine. I can imagine people actually thinking that. However, the interesting thing is that even less people are really alert and aware to the depth of your connection to all of that. And all you have to do is say, I was humming a Queen, a bit of a Queen song when I was 6 months. So it came way ahead of Chris Martin.
That's the passion. And then it was like after that concert, though, being in New Zealand. Have either of you been to New Zealand?
I have not. I have a cousin who lives there.
I have not either.
Oh my gosh, that place is healing in other ways. I grew up on Maui. Go ahead.
I said that's what I hear, and you grew up on Maui, huh?
I grew up a lot on Maui, so in Wailuku.
You're Wailuku. Okay.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Have you been? Yes, you've been to Maui. And
many of those.
Yeah, so I graduated high school in Maui, and that had a profound impact. So the Pacific Island culture, and I had a lot of respect for the Maori people just from what I had learned growing up on Maui, but I had never been to New Zealand, and man, that place had so much healing energy. So we had left the Coldplay concerts on such a buzz, right? Obviously, I had to figure that out and process what had happened. And it is pretty abrupt. You meet Chris Martin, and then they throw you right back over that barricade. You're right back.
Throw you back over.
Yeah, they just throw you back up, which is, not to be ungrateful,
it's a good
of course,
metaphor
but
for life, though.
It is right. You're back in with them, but and very.
You recover
obviously,
from a coma, and they expect you to just jump right back into your job. It's such a good metaphor, Dylan.
It is a great metaphor.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy because it's I'm so grateful for just even being able to hug him and sing with him, and it was just. But then it's okay, now fight off the thousands of people that you're shoving you and sweating with you, and then it's I can't even breathe. I'm trying to fight through the crowd. And I'm I probably can't even get through these people right now to find a bathroom.
Yeah.
So, and then even just getting out of Auckland. So we luckily had a couple of days spent on this farm on the South Island of New Zealand, and I spent these days. We had no Wi-Fi. And it was this kind of retreat on this working vineyard. And we had this private access to a river, and I was bathed. I just kind of swam in this river. It was freezing cold, but it was almost felt like I was being baptized or cleansed in a way of this new life. And I hadn't had a vacation since the coma, and the Coldplay concerts didn't feel like a vacation in a way because it was a lot. You're in Auckland in the city, and it was exciting and invigorating, but not relaxing, if you can imagine. And then, so the first time since I've had this whole experience, and I'm in this river, and this whole thing, and I'm really finally processing it, and I just broke down and sobbed in this river. And This was the profound moment. If anyone was like, what was the moment where you said, yeah, I'm quitting my job and I'm pursuing music? That was it. I remember just saying, I'm doing it. And it was a mixture of that and fielding all these work calls. And I remember I had to go field work calls, and I got physically ill, like opening up Microsoft Teams on my laptop and dealing with all these mortgage things. And it was just the first time I had stepped away and, finally getting a break from it after all the doctor's appointments and everything to fight to try and get better for it. And then I'm like, I'm not wasting this life on doing real estate transactions.
Yeah.
So that was in, November of last year. And we spent the rest of the vacation, my husband and I, working out how financially we were going to make it happen. And I think if something is important enough, you're willing to do it. We had those tough conversations. What are we going to part with? I was like, and it was the people we had met too. I had met so many people that say, we live on very simple means. We live on these things, and we do it because some of the people, they travel around and they follow Coldplay. Like these people were groupies of a band. They go to every show, and they do that. They love them, and I that wasn't what I wanted to do, but it was inspiring because they're like, but that's what we do or they travel, that they travel all around the world, and that was their passion, right? And they said that, but we stay in hostels, so we do, whatever they could do to make it work, they do it. And I'm like, that's it. That's like, but they're so happy, right? I saw, and then all these people that were so happy, and they were not upset, and like I can't go back to that. I could just feel it in my stomach, like physically nauseous, the thought of going back.
Oh yeah.
To that lifestyle.
Your body can't tell you if you listen.
Yes, right, exactly. So I remember going that river, it like cleansed out whatever I needed to, and then I'm like, I'm never going back to that again. So nothing against real estate and business, because also what I realized in that moment is I would be doing a disservice to the people I'd be working with.
Correct.
Right? Because some people are really passionate about that. And some people, and then the clients should be working with those people, not someone whose head is in the cloud thinking about music.
Exactly.
Right? That I didn't want to do a disservice to those people who could be working with someone who's so passionate about homes and finance. They should be working with those people, not someone who's daydreaming about writing songs.
That realization is very, very important.
To
understand. Yeah, I mean it's vital. Most people don't make that connection, and they wonder why they don't feel good, why they're sick, why they get diseased, because they're in a incongruent situation in life, one that doesn't match why they're here. And you figure that out. I love the cleansing in the waters though over there. That's a wonderful metaphor for just cleaning everything away, and then you had your husband there, and you sat down and you communicated, which must be a special person, because I know that for many people, fear is the first thing that they feel instead of, hey, let's talk about this. No, wait, hold on. It's a pushback, because they fear change. And you're in the middle of a huge evolution and transformation in your life. And it's wonderful to hear how you actually processed it. Wonderful that you went to speak with somebody about it. I think that's awesome. And there's no such thing. I think there's a misconception that being vulnerable is weak, and that's not really it. Vulnerability is a superpower. It's a strength. It means that yourself, and you're listening. You're listening to yourself. You're listening to your higher self. You're listening to your body. And we have a word we banter about here a lot because it's where everybody needs to be right now, and it's sovereignty. Okay,
I
we
love
have this
that.
word sovereignty. Sovereignty is ruling over your mind, your body, and your spirit, and not allowing anybody else to dictate how you interact with your mind, your body, and your spirit. That's sovereignty. Okay, you're an overseer of that, and that's what you're supposed to be when you're here. And your story, as you're telling it, it's reminding me of when somebody goes through an interesting situation like this, a transformative time in their life, a challenge of some particular kind. We all have a choice about how to handle it. We can either own our sovereignty, or we can give our sovereignty away to whatever it is and the people around us who are looking to control us in one way or another. And I'm just bowled over by the fact that you even not, without even understanding sovereignty, you literally took control and you understood yourself and you sought the help that you needed, and you actually did. And I'm was anybody else saying, like, are you crazy? That's why I don't know that. Did you hear that from anybody? Who did you hear that from?
About, like, pursuing music?
No, about, okay, you're going to go to Coldplay, and then you're going to pursue music. Yeah, all of that.
Oh, yeah.
All of that.
Well, no one knew about the music thing until much later.
Good. Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. Not to interrupt you, but you remember, Lisa, we were talking about don't tell people what your plans are, what you're going to do, because the first thing they're going to do is pour water on your fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And did you intuitively know not to tell anybody, or did you and your husband say, let's not tell anybody?
It started with my intuition, and then I communicated that out loud. Yeah. Because
that's awesome.
Because it's like, exactly that. I just was not ready for anyone, as we always say, to yuck your yum, right? Like, it's, you don't want, it's like you saying. Don't, it's right. It's a great thing. And it's so true. It's like, you need to have, I needed to have that full steam ahead. And I have enough self-doubt of my own. And I couldn't have anybody else do that. But at that time, I was like, there is no looking back. And I was working, one of my business partner, and she's my best friend. That was a big, really hard thing I had to do, was to tell her I was leaving, kind of like a partnership that we had. Mm-hmm. And that was really difficult. So I also couldn't really tell anybody. But the people I did tell, there were a couple of people, and I was, I had to have my mind make up, and when I told them, everyone said, this makes so much sense, Dylan.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're like, of course you're doing this.
That's excellent.
They were like, and when I told them, and everyone was like, you have a second chance at life. It's pretty hard to argue with. I'm like, I'm not wasting this. People knew what I went through, and they're like, when you have this, and when you had a second chance at life, and when you're really close to losing everything, I'm like, it's so hard to be like, sell the house, sell. It's easy to say that. I'm like, but everything can go. You start looking at everything you own so differently, because the things that are really important then are like, what am I leaving behind in the world? And those are the questions I started asking myself. Right? I haven't had any songs finished yet. I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of ideas and little voice memos, but nothing had been fully completed. And I haven't become the fully worked on the human I want to be yet. And not that we ever probably achieve that path, but I know I'm not along that path well enough. And the album I'm working on right now is called Into This Garden. And it's inspired by this journey a lot, in that it's a metaphor for the garden that we want to grow in life. And what do I want to grow in this garden that I am creating in my life right now, right? What do I want to plant? What are these things? Am I sowing hope and love and peace? And I realized I hadn't even started planting those seeds yet, that I really want to garden. I haven't started cultivating that. And so, everything is so precious. And so this first project, I was like, yeah, no one's getting in the way of this.
Good for you.
Yeah.
No,
Wonderful.
Dylan, I just want to say it's so interesting as you were speaking. All I could think of was music as medicine and how it speaks to the soul's language. And in your case, and I think this is what's really so powerful about your story, because music woke you up when you were unconscious, but it also, all of those people that were in your circle, your family, your friends, anybody who, and not even counting anybody who found out about you through the concert, but those people all of a sudden got new eyes to see with. What was important? You are so precious to your husband, to your parents, to your sister, to your family, to even the friends around you. And to look at that and deny you any aspect of to live your life fully. And I'm sure they, at that point, they were like, no, whatever it is, and they just saw you with new eyes. And I'm just curious, did you notice, like, when you were sort of, and I think, too, it also goes to, like, for each one of us, reflecting, like, how can we listen to that music in our own lives? I mean, I know
that's huge.
I know that's what it made me think of.
Yeah, I think that people were nice to me. The biggest person that I needed to really be kind, the person that was it took a while, but they came around, and I really needed them to be kind to me differently, and that was myself.
Yeah, exactly.
And I wasn't super nice to me. Yeah, I wasn't really? There right away. No, because like I told you, I had survivor's guilt, and I had some things. And I went back to work right away. I didn't follow this right away, but now, I mean, I'm not perfect at it. Whatever. I suffer from the human condition of being grumpy and whatever. We have our moments of life, and
sure, of course,
whatever. Yeah. But I can tell you that right now I'm like making these decisions and treating my body like an instrument. Finally, and like we all should. Everyone should, I think, treat our body like a $100,000 billion violin. Like that's an antique. That needs to be tuned.
Take care of yourself.
And and that doesn't necessarily always mean exercising, but whatever that means, be gentle and kind and loving, and and I started thinking of it like that. It was like, yeah, this is great, and that kindness and love was and compassion toward myself was like the coolest thing that ever had happened. And then it was like, oh my gosh, I'm so not, the kindness and the relationships with everyone else around me started, and they're starting to heal and come back around. And I want that for as many people as possible. Would be lovely.
So I'm interested in hearing. I'm interested in hearing one thing. What is a day for you like now?
Yeah, it's a great question. A lot of what I do is meditate and journal and take care of myself. And that's that's probably the best thing I do for my music. And what that means is we set aside a room in our house for meditation and reflection. So first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is meditate, whether that's a guided meditation or silence. And I spend at least an hour in the morning doing that. And that's just being grateful for literally every meditation, whether it's a guided one. I have a few that I love from different places, but it's literally just being grateful to be alive every day. And I don't ever want to lose that ever again. Because there was, even through this journey, I've gone times before I implemented that practice where I've lost that, which seems dumb. You're like, how could you not be grateful to be alive? But, you get into the hustle of the life, and sometimes we forget to say that out loud or hear that in a mantra. And anyway, that's the number one thing I do is meditate in the morning, and that helps my writing and creativity immensely, and my breathing and everything. So I think then it's from there. It's sometimes have a great little gym down the road, and that helps also with musicality. As a vocalist, I think breath work is the biggest thing, breath support. So I do some cardio to try and keep that training going. But then I'm actually working on guitar, so I've been practicing guitar and playing piano. But I like to songwrite. I play the songs I'm working on, the chord progressions and things like that, and then over and over until I have the lyrics. My songwriting style is a little more organic, so I tend to play the music over and over again and just flow with it until the lyrics start to come out, and I kind of just freestyle the lyrics out loud, press record, and then I listen back to it, and then I'm like, oh yeah, this sounded good, and then I kind of refine it from there. But it all kind of literally just flows right out.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
And I usually, what I do is I split my day, though, into right brain and left brain activities. So I meditate, do my exercise, eat, whatever, and then I have like 2 or 3 hours of right brain activities, which are any follow-ups, emails, promotional work. We have photo shoots and things that we have to do now. PR stuff is happening, production work, stuff like that. And then I do left brain activities where it's just the creative time, whether that's lyrics, music, just playing, painting, and then I do another hour of follow-up on the right brain activities. Extremely ADHD, so I have to keep a pretty strict calendar.
Well, and that's okay. But you know what, you recognize what you need to do if there's a weakness, and I think that, as you said, being kind to yourself, don't see it as a weakness. I was listening to something with Richard Branson, and he was dyslexic, and he said that anybody that's dyslexic, they have to bring people around them. He didn't see it as a weakness. He said, I have an ability to pinpoint talented people and bring them into my circle to help them implement my ideas. He had his grandmother write his letters, business proposal for him, because he wasn't able to do that. And I think that that's sort of what you're finding. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Jill Bolte Taylor. She wrote the book My Stroke of Insight. She was actually a neuroscientist who woke up one morning and was having a stroke. And she's like, oh my gosh, I'm having a stroke. And she literally kind of documented in her mind what she was going through. And she had, like you, a very difficult recovery, but she was able to kind of bring that full circle and recognize that she'd been so left-brained. And she said her right brain, where she thought, like, here it is, the seed of creativity, music, one consciousness, just like your story. She was able to start seeing things differently from a different lens. And it takes a lot of courage, to do what you did. And then you're leaving what is a comfortable path, but you're embracing your authentic calling. And Michael and I speak about it all the time, living from a place of authenticity. And I think that that's what you're discovering, because not only are you lifting yourself up, but you're creating this ripple effect of inspiration for so many other people. And I know you will continue to shine. I
hope so. Thank you. It's still scary, right? Like, I have major imposter syndrome now. Like, I go into these, we just recorded, I had this great band come into this. And some of the days, like, I gave you an example of my day if I don't have, like, a full day in the studio, right? Like, the other day we were there and we recorded another great song. I mean, these guys they were just insanely amazing musicians. And just, these guys are aficionados at what they do. Just amazing. I mean, I don't know they tour with some of the best artists. They're way out of my league. I could hardly open my mouth.
Or maybe not.
But we were working together, and they were kind enough to play on my song. And so we're in the studio, and I just felt like the biggest imposter. So then I was just talking with someone last night, and they said maybe that's a good thing. I think that could mean, like you said, I was comfortable in that last thing, and now I'm doing something, even though it's my passion, it is really uncomfortable some days.
Let me ask you a question. When you were in your job, did you watch the clock? And now, do you find yourself losing track of time?
Oh my gosh. I frequently, like, pinch me. I'm dreaming.
Beautiful. I love it.
Dreaming.
Love it.
Like even it's scary. It's so scary though, but it's also like it's a dream, right? Like, but I have to meditate on that and work through those things. But it's something that's so exciting to work through. Like my biggest challenge is like, I got to be prepared for this because I'm so nervous. But it's like I can't screw this up. But it's so exciting to do it because you want it to be the best product ever, and you want to deliver something that you're proud of and that some people resonate with, and a song that maybe someone will listen to and feel good about. But yeah, it is like the most it's like my inner. I always think back to like 6-year-old me would just be jumping up and down, screaming with joy.
That's beautiful.
Of course you would.
So awesome.
It is gorgeous.
Of course you would.
People, it's interesting. What's interesting is this whole imposter syndrome situation, and it's interesting because obviously it's rooted in a lack of self-confidence because you haven't done something before. Once you've done it, it's no longer something that you haven't done. So now you're comfortable with it. And the gentleman who's the inspiration for the show, Glenn Brooks, used to always talk about, step into the unknown. Always go into the unknown. And because that's where you expand, that's where you grow, that's where you find your higher self, your greater self. That's where your grandest vision manifests in an area that you don't know. And when engaging with things you don't know, and that's the beautiful. So you get a life full of that. But I simply, however, I'm going to simply say one thing to you, that it's the way that you perceive yourself within the context of any situation that's going to determine what plays out in your head and what plays out in terms of the way you handle it. And you have already, and what I encourage people to do is to take successes that are completely unrelated to what you're going into, successes that you've experienced as a person, as a person, an individual, and let that be that confidence in the success of that moment for you spill over into whatever else, into the unknown, the thing you're doing, right? The gentlemen in that studio who were playing with the musicians, they might not have had you might not have had their experience in terms of playing, but you've had an experience that they have not had, and likely will never in their life have, because we're all individuals, and you came through it successfully. So the success you had with coming back, going and meeting Chris Martin, all these things you have a lot of success in your life, and you have to literally pivot off of that. Use it as a springboard, I guess, to say, we all have different things that we've done really successfully, and always be open to learning, because being where they are, there's something that you can learn from them, right? I would tell you this just a quick little story. A friend of mine is the bass player, was the bass player in Katrina and the Waves. Oh, wow. And he used to live down the street from me. We're very good friends. He lives in Portugal now, and we've traveled together around the world, and we've also recorded in the studio together, because I've been a drummer for 57 years. So, and my brother's a musician. So I've been around music my entire life, and one of the things I love to do is to step into a situation where I'm totally, that I've never done before, which is what I did when I went into the studio for him and did some backup drums and did some backup vocals for him. And this guy, you're thinking, okay, this guy was with Katrina and the Waves, and they were like, worldwide traveling. He used to tell some of these tour stories that were crazy. But he said, that song that you hear on the radio every freaking day, 10 times a day in the summertime, Walking on Sunshine. Yeah, it's a song that's so uplifting. He says, it didn't sound anything like that when we did it. We had 2 producers work with us on that, and to get it to that point. He says, it's that way, not because of us, but because we were open to allowing other people, producers, to work with us to make it better. Okay? Yeah. So the moral of the story is that he tells me, he says, never be your own producer. Right. Which is the thing, he says, never be your own producer. Always allow somebody who's knowledgeable in the technical aspects of things, to hear and make suggestions and to help you improve and get better. And that's all you're going to do. You've got things set up for you. You are, in my view, you're on the right track.
Thank you.
You're meditating. You're connecting with your higher self and the beings that are around you. There are tons of non-physical beings around you helping you out, pushing you along, giving you suggestions. I'm envious of you because I play music. I don't write music.
Oh, do you? Oh, I didn't know that. What do you play?
I play drums. Yeah, I've been a drummer for over 50 years. Yeah, I've been a drummer for since I was age 7, and that's 60 years ago, to be honest with you.
I have a feeling we're going to play music sometime, maybe.
Yeah, you know what? That would be. I would
we're just
love
putting it
that.
out there now.
We'll make it happen, my friend. It's beautiful, and you'll be out. You'll be touring. You'll be doing all the grandest things that you ever envisioned yourself doing. And the only advice I have for you is the same advice that Lisa would have, and that is never lose the authentic you. You have made a pattern for yourself that works. If you stick with it, you know, you'll always. You're your best judge and jury. So be very, very, very kind to yourself. Keep being kind. Keep being compassionate.
And I want to just say, Dylan, that if you think about how art has evolved, and art is a big part of my life, and I never thought that I could be a painter because, well, you know, I didn't go to art school. I didn't, you know, all of these different things. But it was about the experimentation and exploring. And I think back to a friend of mine who she loved to paint when I met her, but she said when she was younger, she colored the sky green. And she got reprimanded. She was in a very strict school. The sky was not green.
Huh?
And you know, she did not. It wasn't until she moved to Japan, like totally transformed her life, like literally to a small little village, that she even had the courage to pick up a paintbrush. And her art is so whimsical. She's a musician, a songwriter. She writes plays. She did a movie. Yeah, and to see, she's a ceramic artist, all these things, but she never did it because of what one person said to her. And so you may not be a Rembrandt, but you might be a Jackson Pollock, and that comes through experimentation. And you think about,
that's a huge point. Experiment, yes. Yeah, God, that's a great word.
Yeah, I mean, and so would not compare yourself. I got a beautiful blessing of hearing one of your songs that you gifted me with, and I was moved to tears, like literally, and I'm not a crier. I say that, I'm not a crier. You know, some people, I think, what's wrong with me? Like, but I'll tell you, it touched my heart, and even to hear your words through this conversation, I'm so grateful you were able to join us, because I think it's going to provide a lot of inspiration and change people on so many different levels. I mean, music is frequency. Your voice is frequency. So you will impact the hearts of many, many people worldwide. I know you will. And it's beautiful what you're bringing forth.
It's mutual. You guys do that every week. So.
Well, we love it, and it's people like you, who and your experiences that not only help validate what we say, and it's also that we have the opportunity to help other people, give other people an example of an experience that can help propel them to also step into the unknown. And that's really, I mean, I'm in awe of the fact of how you've put your life together and how structured your left and right brain activities are, and how meditation is a big part of your life, because a lot of people, you know, they don't do what we do. I spend half an hour to 40 minutes meditating and thinking, and sometimes an hour and a half. My girlfriend goes, "Oh, you've been up there an hour and a half." And I'm going, "Really? Yeah, that's what I do in the morning. I love it." You zone out, man. That's where ideas come. That's where, you know, you connect with something greater than yourself. And there was something interesting that I don't know who it was that was interviewing very, very famous musicians and songwriters, and he was asking each one of them the same question: where do your ideas come from? And he said, not me. None of them said their ideas came from them.
No, it's something bigger.
And what you're tapping into is that glorious channel of creativity, of infinite creativity.
Yeah.
And I love it, man. I love it. I know Lisa's going to send me the song because I didn't hear it before.
Yes,
well,
you can hear it. Yeah. You can send it to Michael. You could have it. Michael can listen to it. Yeah, please send it to Michael.
Yeah.
I just didn't have Michael's number.
I'm not going to
Yeah.
put it out on it. Yeah. But we'll connect, man. And feel welcome to connect with either of us.
The bags are just packed.
Man.
People are like, I'm just on this journey, and I'm like, my bags aren't even packed yet, is what I feel like. Or I just maybe packed them. I haven't even set a foot out yet, maybe, on the journey. So
maybe just pick up and take what you need when you need it. I mean, the beautiful thing is it's all like this blank canvas, man, and you're the one who decides what goes on it, and it's a great place to be.
Yeah,
it's exciting for sure.
Yeah, and your story, Dylan. I mean, I think it reminds us all that oftentimes life speaks to us through the things that we love the most, and it's that love that is the greatest healer, and it's all of those people around you that love you and care about you, and now we love you too. It's just so great.
I love you guys back. That's so fun. Isn't that life?
It is. It's just such a beautiful gift. It really is. These connections. And that's how we send those ripples out through the world. And I think we have 3 or 4 minutes left, so I'd love for you to share how people can find you, how they can tune into your music once you release it, and anything else that you would like to share with the audience, please.
Man, I mean, right now it's not. My music will be available on all the major streaming platforms if you look up Dylan Bode. So probably just look up my name on there, but it's not out yet.
Good.
So right now, my Instagram is that Dylan Bode. So the word that, like that Dylan Bode. I've had that handle forever, as if someone was shaking their head and saying that Dylan Bode. You know, that Dylan Bode. You know, he's doing something again. But for now, you know, you can find me online, but it's not too exciting. There will be announcements soon. I don't do a ton on, you know, I'll tell you guys this, before, I know we're running out of time. I'm horrible at social media. I really like to say disconnected from the internet, which I need to, I will be changing that now that I'm doing more and more online, and it's part of something that I'm working on and getting better content developed. But, you know, I've been really unplugged for the last 6 months. So,
good.
It's going to be something
good thing.
It can be, but now that we have stuff to share, and hopefully we book some shows and things that are coming up, that will be available on there soon. So
and you did a show last night, and how did that feel?
Yeah.
We
performed last night. It was really nice. The audience was really receptive, and it was fun. We did a blues version of Another One Bites the Dust for Freddie Mercury for Queen.
Sweet.
You know, and
oh, really?
Oh man,
cool.
It was great. That was fun to really jam out to that, and do some vocal riffs on that. That was a whole other side of things. So we needed some good drums on that once it picks up. So you would have had fun with that, maybe. Anyway,
I think that's awesome, man. That's
it was a good time. So what I'd say to everybody is, of course, you know, my big thing in life is to follow your dreams and never. My biggest thing is never give up, which in life that's my biggest passion in the world, is to never give up, because it's so hard to feel like all hope is gone and like there's no chance left. And I think there's always a chance. There's always someone that believes in you, and even if it's just yourself. So
when you start believing in yourself, interesting things can happen. You got an amazing story. Yeah. You're on an amazing ride. You're at the top of the wave, as they say in Hawaii, and you're riding it as well as any professional could. And I just look forward to seeing you riding bigger and bigger waves. You're going to get there.
Oh, thanks.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Dylan. And I want to say, may that Dylan Bode give all of us the courage to follow our own music and trust our passions, and remember that even when life challenges us, you know, just let that light in, let that love in, and just shine, because that's exactly what you're doing, Dylan. And I'm so grateful you joined us here today. And thank you to all of our listeners for joining us as well. It's just been such a special time. I feel so blessed. Thank you.
Me too.
Thank you, Sam.
Take care.
Until next time.
Bye-bye.